Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Hugh Freeze, the Auburn Tigers, making a late addition in the transfer portal, bringing in former Maryland linebacker Fa'Najae Gotay. This is not necessarily a transfer portal commitment that is going to make national news, but for Auburn fans specifically, I think there's a lot to be excited about where you don't always need to use the transfer portal to bring in these premier playmaking individuals. You can also use the transfer portal to build depth within your roster. You've seen Auburn do this plenty of times throughout the last couple months, bringing in guys like Isaiah Rakes or like Philip Bleedy. Fa'Najae Gotay is a guy that brings a ton of experience to this Auburn linebacker room where outside of Eugene Asante and Austin Keys, it was a relatively inexperienced group that was going to have to rely on some true freshmen like DJ Barber and DeMarcus Riddick. If you wanted to add some experience to the linebacker room, to the depth of this linebacker room, I don't know if there's a better linebacker to go out and get. You take a look at Fa'Najae Gotay going into his 7th year of college football, having played over 1,000 snaps at the Power 5 level in the Big Ten. I think this one, from a depth chart building standpoint, just makes a ton of sense. And this is a guy that is going to play significant snaps for Auburn, at least in my mind, in 2024. This is a very good football player. As a Michigan fan, I'm familiar with Fa'Najae Gotay in the Big Ten. I don't necessarily think he starts over guys like Eugene Asante and Austin Keys, but as a rotational linebacker piece where you have the opportunity to add a guy with starting experience at Maryland, I think this one makes a lot of sense for the Auburn Tigers and Hugh Freeze. Want to get into a little bit of Fa'Najae Gotay and talk a little bit more about why I like this addition for this Auburn program. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, to the Auburn fans. It's been a blast talking this program in the transfer portal. The amount of support you guys continue to show, the amount of War Eagles you guys throw in the comment section, that stuff, it means the world to the boys. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into a piece of news that, again, I don't think a lot of people outside of the Auburn program are going to talk a lot about. You talk about how much work there was needed to kind of get this Auburn depth chart back to where it belonged from Brian Harsin. Yes, you want really talented starting football players, but you also want to have depth within your roster. Hugh Freeze knows more than anybody else. You look at why Georgia and why Alabama have had so much success in the SEC over the last couple of years. Their rosters have been extremely deep. And although Fa'Najae Gotay is not going to come in and probably start for this Auburn linebacker room over guys like Austin Keys and Eugene Asante, this matters. Like when you're starting to rotate your linebackers, which you are for sure going to need to be doing in the 2024 year, this gives you the ability to add a kid that's played a ton of football at the Power 5 level. And you start digging into Fa'Najae Gotay. He was top 5 in this Maryland defense last year in run stops. This is a linebacker that going into his 7th year of college football knows what he's doing. He knows how to make his run fits. He doesn't miss a lot of tackles. There's a lot of consistency that Fa'Najae Gotay brings to this Auburn linebacker room, specifically in the depth of this linebacker room that you probably didn't have 48 hours ago, right? Again, we're talking about Eugene Asante, Austin Keys probably being your starting linebackers. Outside of that, I mean, DeMarcus Riddick and DJ Barber were probably going to have to play significant snaps at the linebacker spot as true freshmen. That's not necessarily saying I don't believe in those kind of guys. I thought DJ Barber looked very good for this Auburn program in the spring, but I think Fa'Najae Gotay is a guy that he kind of allows you to get some more experience in that linebacker room. And I think a couple other connections you have with Fa'Najae Gotay is, one, this Auburn staff played Maryland in the bowl game where Fa'Najae Gotay started, had multiple run stops, played some relatively good football. This Auburn team, they know what Fa'Najae Gotay brings to the table. And on top of that, DJ Durkin signed Fa'Najae Gotay in the 2018 class of Maryland. That kind of tells you how long Fa'Najae Gotay has been in the college football landscape. But you know DJ Durkin would not be bringing in a guy like Fa'Najae Gotay if he did not have a lot of confidence that he could come in and bring some experience and depth to this linebacker room. That's what stands out to me the most. And I get a lot of people just want to talk about your starting talent, what your starting quote-unquote 11 looks like. I think a lot of college football fans who follow this sport relatively closely know, yes, we want to have a good starting 11, but it matters what your 2 and 3 deep look like, especially in the SEC, especially for Auburn when you're looking to win games in November. And so a guy like Fa'Najae Gotay, again, is not going to be a headline transfer portal commitment, but you're getting a linebacker that's made over 130 tackles, has played 6 seasons of college football going into his 7th, and has familiarity with some guys in the staff like DJ Durkin. This one's going to fly under the radar for a lot of people. I think this one makes a lot of sense for this Auburn program, and I think we'll look up week 5, week 6, and look at Fa'Najae Gotay as being a guy that's playing 15, 20 snaps for this Auburn program. That matters. You want to make sure you have reliable linebacker play when guys like Austin Keys and Eugene Asante aren't on the football field. Fa'Najae Gotay gives you that. Really, I think a much bigger transfer portal commitment than I think a lot of people will give it credit. I think Auburn fans should be excited about him. And again, a guy that started at the Power 5 level. This is not just a guy that hasn't played a ton of football, just been around college football. He's played a lot. He's played at a high level. He brings you some of that reliability and depth that Auburn's been looking for. We'll close it there. One that's going to fly under the radar, but for Auburn fans, I think this one matters heading into 2024. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.